We are going to call to order a Town of Fairfield Police and Fire special meeting. And Calvin, it looks to me like the first order of business is to hear and consider the normal retirement of Ron Vargo.
That is correct. We can do these either one by one, or we can just do them both as a group. What is your preference?
Well, why don't we do one by one only because I just want to get a refresher on the purchase of military time, just so I understand what we're approving.
So to start the conversation, I'll make a motion that we retire that we accept and I nominate Ron Vargo for normal retirement for a retirement date of July 10th, 2025.
Do we have a second for that motion?
Okay. We need a second for that, please.
I'll second it.
All right.
Okay, was that Tom? I couldn't tell.
Yes.
Yep.
Okay, we have a second from Tom Collmore. Who do we have on the call from, is Megan on who's on the call from the town?
We have
From
Megan.
HR. Hi, Megan, how you doing?
Good, how are you?
Is it?
Yeah.
Great, thank you. Is there anything you can tell us special about Mr. Vargo's retirement package?
It's a normal retirement, service retirement. Yesterday was his last day worked, so today's his official first day of retirement. And
Okay.
nothing unusual about his retirement.
Okay, so standard. Does anybody else on this call have any questions on the retirement of Mr. Vargo?
I have an unrelated comment. I think it's great that, is it Megan? I'm sorry, I missed your name.
Megan, yes.
Megan, I noticed the birth date is blacked out, which seems to be, I think, good practice. I've seen some of my personal information on the internet in connection with this membership. So I just want to say, for what it's worth, unless somebody has an observation that goes against my understanding here, I think it's great that we're not including birth dates on publicly available information.
Yes, so I started doing it with the last round of retirements, one set for the posting through the town clerk with the information blacked out, and then one set for your approval, because if you want to see the birth date for the calculation, it's not necessary for Mr. Vargo's calculation, but for eligibility purposes, age is important. So I can leave it on for the board, or I can tell the next person to leave it on for the board, but black it out for the publicly posted document.
Thank you.
I think you black it out in general, and we can ask if we need to. Does anybody have a disagreement on that? Eric, do you have a disagreement with that?
No, I'm fine.
Okay. Am I missing something? I have 6 attachments here. And Tom, by the way, your comments about trying to get all these attachments into some more rational, understandable format is definitely a project I'm going to take on going forward. So thank you for that. But I don't see a retirement calculation sheet for Vargo. Am I missing something?
It was a carryover from the last meeting when we didn't have a quorum, and I sent it out at the end of the day yesterday after I noticed it wasn't attached to Calvin's notice.
Got it. Okay. So that is good, and it's another reason why Tom's point, I think, is well taken. So we'll deal with that separately. So can I call, anybody have any other comments, or can I call for a vote? Okay. All in favor of Mr. Vargo's retirement being approved, say aye, please.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Are there any other people to, okay, anybody against? Okay, was that 3-0? I only heard 3. Am I missing something?
Nope, that's all 3 of you.
Oh, okay. I thought Tom Harris was on the call. No?
He joined briefly, and then we lost him. I'm not quite sure what happened.
Okay, but that's sufficient to.
That is sufficient, yes.
It's sufficient.
For quorum,
Okay.
you only need either the chair or vice chair, and then 2 other members.
Got it. Okay, terrific. So we've approved Mr. Vargo's retirement, and please pass along our congratulations to anybody who sees him. Item number 2B, I'll call it, would be the early retirement for the Chief Robert Calamares. Do I have a motion to consider that?
Eric Caliper, I'll make a motion that we accept the early retirement for Chief Calamaris for a date of July 17th, 2025.
Tom
Okay, do I have
Collmore, I second.
a second? Okay. Okay, terrific. So we'll put that up for discussion. I'm sure everything is fine. I would just love if somebody could give me a 1 or 2 paragraph reminder of this military buyback and more importantly, what it means to the town or to the pension fund, I should say. Can
Sure, I can
anybody
do that.
help me with that? Okay, thank you.
Yep, so there's a clause in Chief Calamaris' employment contract that says he is eligible at the time of his retirement to purchase 3.5 years served in the military. Typically, police officers have the first 2 years of their employment to make a decision about whether or not they want to purchase their military time. Chief Calamaris' situation is unique because it's allowing him that opportunity at the end of his career instead of at the beginning of his career. So in the employment contract, it says that that calculation is subject to board approval. So we're bringing it in front of the board to make sure it's approved. The calculation was created by Milliman. So what they have looked at is the cost to purchase the 3.5 years, which is based on the chief's starting salary with the town. So that number is set. And then what's variable, which they have calculated, is the lost interest to the fund, so to the plan. So what the actuaries looked at was the amount, if that initial investment had been made back in 2000, what the lost interest was on that investment in the fund. So that's what they came up with as their actuarial calculation for the cost of the purchase.
Okay. So my understanding, I mean, is this costing the pension fund an additional $17,202.07? I'm just confused about what it means.
Good question. So what it does is it increases the chief's pension payment. So the factor that his regular time worked would be increasing his pension by is that extra 3.5 years is increasing his pensionable income in retirement by a 6% factor for those 3 years. So his ending salary, his salary as of today, 6% of that salary for each year of service that he's purchasing, 3.5 years, is added to his pension calculation, which is maxing him out at the 80% of ending salary, which he wouldn't have achieved with 25 years of service, but he does achieve with 25 years of service plus 3.5 years of military buyback.
Okay.
So I'm a little confused. I know even less than Ken does, I suspect, but I'm a little confused by the optionality here where the chief, whom I don't know, and I'm sure he's a great guy, so none of this is personal, but I'm just curious. He has the option, but not the obligation to purchase the military time as a credit to his pension, and we have the option, I gather, but not the obligation to approve it. And is that a fair statement of the situation?
That's my understanding of the situation. The clause in the employment contract says at the time the chief makes his announcement of retirement, he has the opportunity to purchase the 3.5 years. That an actuarial calculation will be carried out to determine the cost of that purchase, and the board will, and that purchase is subject to board approval.
So what is, I guess this is a legal question, sorry to continue, but, Megan, maybe you're the wrong person to answer this question, but if it's subject to our approval, what is our base? I mean, we're fiduciaries for the pension plan, and Eric, I bet you have a point of view on this. We're fiduciaries for the pension plan, so I don't think it's within our ethical responsibilities to give something away, even if the contract says we can approve or disapprove. And I'm sure I'm missing something, or somebody can weigh in here. But
As I understand, I emphasize what Tom did, which is that this is strictly now a mathematical or economic or ethical discussion, nothing about the chief, who I'm sure has done exemplary work, but we are by definition taking something away from other employees and giving it to the chief by definition. And what I don't understand, Megan, maybe you can help me with this, and Tom, tell me if this dovetails with what you're thinking. This goes under the umbrella of, I think there's a whole range of things that we're being asked to do that we shouldn't be doing. Right? This strikes me as a relationship between the town and the employee. I mean, if I was just doing my job, I would reject this, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Eric, I trust you always to be objective, even if you're, part of the town's employee system. Am I missing something here in terms of what our responsibility is here?
So I think that well, there's a couple of things, right? So the language of purchasing military time and then having the military time credited at that rate, right? So I was able to find language we have similar language in our contract, and I looked at the police union contract, and that validates the multiplier for the military time. So
Okay.
the language is not, it's not out there crazy. It can be justified in collective bargaining agreements in both police and fire. I've seen similar language. So that's not weird. The only thing that is kind of weird is that it's coming at us at the end of the period in which the employment
Right.
is at versus the beginning of the employment. Now, I mean, you could say it's a mathematical problem from that standpoint, right? As long as we accept the factor of the 5%, and then we accept what the Millman assumed was the rate of return on that loss, right? That's the mathematical problem. That's what makes us whole. And I think that's the only thing that's really kind of up for debate here.
Yeah, let me ask it differently. I apologize. Maybe I didn't make myself clear. I shouldn't have said mathematical. That you're right. The math is the math, and I trust Milliman and the town HR department to run the numbers properly. I'm thinking, just to come up with an analogy, if LeBron James signs a contract with the LA Lakers for, whatever crazy numbers these guys make, $50 million. And then in the contract, it says at the end of your contract, if we liked you very much and we feel like it, we'll give you another $2 million. And then some totally different group of people were asked to adjudicate that. It would put them in a weird position, right? In other words, I'm actually more angry about the town and the way this contract was drawn up. Because again, it's asking us to approve something for one person that by definition is negative for everybody else, by definition.
So the only thing I would say is that, this labor contract that was executed, I would assume would had to have been brought before the Board of Selectmen, right, for approval.
Right.
So,
Right.
All right, so there was board approval on it. The only thing that maybe we should do as a board moving forward is, have Milliman look at some of these contracts that exist with deputy chiefs, captains, and chief officers of the uniformed services, just to make sure that we're properly capturing the accountability side of the equation, right? What's the liability side of it? But it was a contract that was executed between the prior first select woman and the police chief.
Oh
So-
yeah. No, I again, I hope I'm being clear. I am. Every employee has the right to negotiate whatever contract they can negotiate with their employer, right? I always root for the employee, but I don't know why it's been foisted on us to approve it.
Yeah,
Right?
if I could just
That's-
interject on that, Ken, I agree, and I don't know what approval really means. It reminds me a little bit of the case where we had the firefighter who had an exemption to be, who had an exemption for a bad knee, and then he injured his knee in fire school, and then he retired at full whatever. And again, this is not personal. I'm sure he's a wonderful man and enjoying his retirement. I'm all for that. But he got full retirement at the age of 35 or something. I'm sure, Eric, you know the case. And then the town came back and said, town attorney came back and said, well, all you're doing is basically, I'm Catholic. We have the sign of the cross thing. All you're doing is blessing what is reality. You're not really approving in substance something that could go either way. And that, frankly, makes me a little uncomfortable. I feel like we're formulaically or inform only approving something where we don't really have any input into what happened and we don't really understand what happened. So this reminds me a little bit of that. Again, I mean no disparagement. I know I'm repeating myself to the chief, but I don't understand what it is we're approving. The math, I'm sure I agree with Ken, is Milliman did a correct calculation. Are we just formulaically approving because it's in the contract and contract provisions need to be run by us as a matter of protocol, or are we actually in substance approving something?
So what I would say, and what I have explained to other board members and my own bargaining unit, has been like, we don't necessarily approve the retirement, right? The retirement is between the employee and the town. What we do approve is the distribution of the fund trust, right? The funds of the trust is what we do approve of. We are the keepers of the trust. So we're the check and balance, right? We're the ones that are
Right.
making sure that the T's are crossed and the I's are dotted, and that, you know, the proper distributions are following the proper rules and legalities for the distribution of the trust. And that's what we're the gatekeepers.
Okay, well,
Okay,
I'll
so-
just make a suggestion then.
yeah.
Sorry if I'm talking over somebody. I'll
No,
make a
go ahead, Cal.
suggestion then. And feel free to yell at me. Would it make sense to have the town attorney come in here and just confirm what Eric just said, just for all of us to hear it from the attorney, and just say, all you're doing is, as a matter of form, saying the situation has been explained to you and on the surface seems okay. It's per the contract, and you're just saying, yeah, we get that. We're not actually doing due diligence. We're not approving the rationale. We're not making a decision about the economics of the situation. Is that insane?
It's certainly not insane. Megan, let me ask you another question if I could. You're there, right?
Sure.
Yeah. So how much would his monthly pension be for the rest of his life if with or without this military purchase of 3.5 years? Maybe that's a better way, because maybe I don't understand that. In other words, he's going to be getting how much per month or per year now, and how much would he be getting if he didn't have this extra benefit?
Sure thing. Just give me a second to update the calculation.
Yeah, no problem. So I think maybe that'll, at least we'll understand what we're approving, Tom. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Right
well-
now, I'm not even sure what we're approving.
Well, I think it's a fair, if I understand the calculation sheet correctly, which I'm not assuming I do, it's a pretty small difference. I'm seeing like a $2,000 a year difference, if I'm reading it correctly, which again, I may not be. So I don't think it's terribly significant, but I do think if we're making an economic decision as $2,000 a year for the rest of somebody's life or somebody and his survivor's life, I think we're supposed to be careful. And like I said, I don't
Yeah,
fully
and-
understand what
and-
we're voting on.
And thankfully for Chief Calamaris, he's only 51 years old, right?
Yeah, more power to him. I hope he enjoys a lot of
Right.
golf.
Right.
So the calculation without the military buyback would be $9,367.90 per month. With the military buyback, it's $12,490.53 a month. So it does offer
Wow.
a significant increase.
So it's $3,000
My
a
God.
month, rough numbers.
So-
That's a lot of money.
I mean, yeah, we're approving a multi-million-dollar differential here, for what it's worth, assuming he lives a nice, ripe old age. Eric, I'm going to come back to you. I trust you. You're one of the greatest public servants we've ever had in the history of Fairfield.
Whoa.
What's going on here? Does this feel kosher?
So, like,
In terms of what we're supposed to approve.
So I would say again, right? So the language that justifies the military buyback exists in current collective bargaining agreements already. The language that exists with crediting him the years of service for military buyback also exists in the current police union contract CBA. So there's nothing
Mhm.
crazy here in the language that is not acknowledged or previously negotiated with the bargaining units, or is so far out there on a limb that you kind of scratch your head at. So I don't see anything here that's way crazy. Like I said, the only thing is that it's happening at the end of the employment cycle and not the beginning of the employment cycle.
And it
So
sounds like,
it's
Eric, if I can interject, it sounds like he negotiated that, and, you know, we it's not our role to question the town's signatory at the time. It's not a personal, nothing personal against Brenda or for Brenda for that matter. It just is what it is, right?
I would absolutely agree with that. So that was negotiated between the chief and the first selectman at the time, and would have gone before the board for approval. So
So I go back to my question: What are we just sort of making the sign of the cross over the contract?
I think no different than Ron Vargo's retirement that comes before us. We're validating salary, validating age,
Okay.
validating time and service, honoring a contract, whether that's a union contract or a personal employment contract, to make sure that the proper disbursement of the trust fund is being made.
Okay, so in summary, we're not really making a substantive economic decision one way or the other. We're merely blessing an existing contractual provision.
Yeah, the economic decision was made back when the contract was executed. Right?
Okay, all right.
So that
all right.
and that's where I
Eric
kind
is- yeah.
Yeah,
go ahead.
I'm sorry, one last point, Ken. I just want to say, and that's where it comes back to, making sure that the actuaries have eyes on any of the personal contracts, just to make sure that we're properly capturing the liability of those contracts. That's all.
I think Christine had something.
I'm sorry I'm late. I'm just playing phone tag with the governor. It seems like you got to the right conclusion just in terms of your role. Your role is not to bargain. This has already been established through the collective bargaining process. I was not involved in that bargaining, but respect the practice. You have a role to oversee the fund and just make sure that this allocation is being done properly. And I understand your questioning. I serve on the WPCA. We approve projects from one metric. It's not whether or not we approve of the project that's being built or we agree with the project that's being built. We have the metric of sewer capacity and it's set at a certain rate. And we move forward on that metric alone. And I think that right now, this has already been fairly bargained. Your role is not to bargain again, just to make sure as fiduciary for this fund, pretty much providing oversight to make sure that the payout aligns with the contract and aligns with your policies.
I'm just, Eric, I'll ask you again, this is actually, so I just did a future value calculator, by the way, just for what it's worth, using a 6% assumed interest rate and 35 years, which hopefully the chief will live longer than that. It's well over $4 million. The difference, just the additional benefit of the $3,000 a month difference in the payment. I mean, it's an astonishing amount of money for what it's worth.
Yeah, and I'll echo what I said. I'll sort of echo what I said before about the firefighter, who's a wonderful guy. I'm sure. Again, this is not personal, but when we talked about that practice, we did have somebody, the town attorney, come in and say, by the way, we've identified the idea of giving people a waiver for a bad knee and then exposing the town to a full retirement claim, 2 years later while the guy's in fire school, injuring a bad knee, that, HR practices were put into place to prevent that. So that's probably beyond the purview of the board, but I'm just mentioning that.
Yeah, I agree.
That came up.
So I'm gonna, I'm speaking to myself right now. I'm gonna vote when we come to a vote, I'm gonna vote in favor of this, but only with a caveat that I guess, well, Megan, whoever from the town who's on the phone, only if we are assured that we're going to get a letter from the town attorney blessing this to go in the files.
I could, yeah. I'll agree with that,
I
Ken.
can't in good conscience approve a benefit of $4.5 million or more that literally comes from the pockets of every other retiree or employee or taxpayer or something without knowing that this is I want our fingerprints off of this. And in the future, I'm going to have to talk to somebody about changing the way things are done. This is just not appropriate for the board, the JRIB, to be voting on. In terms of voting on this additional feature, right? We should be voting on regular retirements. We're being asked to vote on a special feature that I'm sure was negotiated in good faith by a previous select person, where if I asked anybody on the street, they think we're out of our minds, right? So,
Ken, this is
I'm
Megan.
gonna vote. Yeah, hey, Megan.
Okay, so I heard you say you want it before, you want to have like a conditional vote, and the condition be upon a letter from the town attorney.
Well, no, not really. No, I don't want to, I don't
Okay.
want to deny the chief approval of what I'm sure was negotiated in good faith and, good, whatever, good form. But I'm just saying that I'm voting yes with the understanding that we're going to get a letter from the town attorney blessing what we did. I understand that he may come back and say, well, no, I can't do that. I get it. But I'm just going on record that we can't be doing this on our own, which is what we're doing. We need cover for this. This is an incredible, change to what a normal pension would be, I think. Maybe I'm wrong. Please, somebody tell me I'm wrong.
I would just like to point out that the timing is the only thing that is unusual. So if Chief Calamaris in 2000 had opted to purchase the service, the 3.5 years of service, the initial buy-in, the $7,000 would be the same, and he would repay that to the trust within
So,
10 years. It's the
Great,
fact
so
that
he-
it's at
how
the
much-
end of his employment.
Yeah,
That's
there's a value to
Right.
optionality, Megan. I don't want to dig into the math of this, but I'm worried there's an optionality value, a free option that's being given away here, and I don't want to even think about it, to be honest. And I don't mean anything improper, by the way. I just mean as a matter of economics and ethics that that potentially a free option was given here, and maybe it was I'm sure it was negotiated for in good faith. But I agree with Ken. This is the second time in my relatively brief tenure that I've heard two situations that just seem strange. This was one, and the other was a firefighter retiring with his knee injury, for full retirement after 2 years after joining the fire department. So I think having
So-
an understanding would be great from the town attorney that we're just blessing an existing arrangement. We don't have to like it or hate it. We're just blessing it.
Yeah, if I could, Ken, it's David.
Hey, I was wondering if you were there.
Yeah, no, hi. So I'm here, and I think this goes. I would just say this goes to some of the questions we've had recently, even just surrounding quorums and the process and why the board is voting what they're voting on. So I think you're warranted in just understanding, a little bit more clarification still on the role on some of these things. I think we can certainly. It's something I think that you need more clarification on, regardless of this particular item, and I think that will help.
Yeah,
So
I mean,
we can work
just
towards
so
that. I think.
I hope so. So Megan, so the only reason, correct me if I'm wrong, obviously you'd have to have your head examined to not spend $7,000 to potentially get $4+ million over time, right? So the only option here for the chief was that, Eric, maybe you can answer this as well. A normal employee with the contract has to make this decision when they're hired. Is that what I'm understanding? And he got the option to do it when he retired?
Yes. So for example, we had a retirement recently where someone in the beginning of their career had purchased their military service. So when I was calculating their retirement, I took that into account, and where you'll see on the calculation, there's a fourth bucket that we don't always see, which is military time purchase, because it's a higher factor. So, but
Right.
that employee had made the purchase upon their initial hire, and they have to make the decision to make the purchase within 2 years, and they have to complete the purchase within 10 years of their start date. So if they make the decision at the 2-year mark, the day before the 2-year mark, they then have 8 years to repay it. So they're paying back that initial buy-in. What the chief is paying is that initial buy-in plus all the missed interest. So he's not paying $7,000 now. He's paying, I think it's $24,000 now for the initial investment and the missed interest. What the employment contract says is The amount owed will be determined by an actuarial evaluation upon the chief's decision to retire, comma, and is subject to pension board approval. So I don't know if my reading of this is accurate, where you're approving the actuarial calculation. So maybe a letter from the town attorney explaining what the board's role is in this section, military buyback would be appropriate.
Megan, if I could, Ken, I'm only speaking for myself here. I feel more comfortable with
Yeah.
being in communication with the town attorney at this point.
Say that again, Tom?
I'm speaking only for myself. I would feel more comfortable. I'm inclined to vote yes, by the way, but I feel more comfortable just having the town attorney say, you've understood your role correctly. This is unusual. It's a one-off. It's all fine. And that's what he did with the firefighter who was quickly injured after getting an exemption. He just basically said, look, I'm not passing judgment on the underlying business here, but it was a judgment made at the time, and HR is aware and policies have been adjusted, blah, blah, blah. I'm not making a strict analogy, but I think it's a
Right.
decent precedent to have the town attorney say, yes, this is water under the bridge, just bless it as a fiduciary for the town pension plan.
So Megan, just to follow up on that, so the way I understood it, if we don't, obviously, I want to at least understand what it would mean to the chief if we were to delay, as Tom is implying, approving this at our board until we got the letter from the lawyer, town attorney, which, by the way, could be as soon as Monday, I guess. What does this mean for him? In other words, when would his first check normally be going out?
If the buyback was approved or the calculation was approved today, my plan was to send his information to the bank on Monday. They would issue a prorated pension payment for the month of July, during which portion of the month he was retired, and the first regular payment would be August 1st.
Okay.
The complicating factor is that Monday is my last day of employment with the town.
Yeah.
And I don't know what the takeover plan is for these types of transactions. So if we can get the letter from the town attorney by Monday, that would be great, and I can move forward with sending it to the bank.
If I could just interject on that point, I'm not asking necessarily for a letter. I'm just asking for the town attorney. He could do the same thing he did last time. What he did last time, he just said, Tom, calm down. It's fine. Don't worry about it. Water under the bridge. And that was the end of it.
So Phil's working on joining right now. And Megan hit the nail on the head about her timing. Part of the reason to get this call, and we called around, or Calvin called around, was knowing Megan's Monday timeline, getting this done today for the two, just to give us a little breathing room. And Phil has now also joined the call. Ken, I just asked him to
Excellent.
join.
We genuinely, David, thank you so much for doing that for us, and Phil for hopping on. Phil, are you on board here?
Yeah, I'm online now.
Okay. This is Ken, obviously. Are you aware of the issue that we're debating here, or have some concerns about that we'd like to get your blessing on?
Only at a high level. David just texted me a few moments ago.
So I'll try and summarize it. And for what it's worth, you might want to make a mental or written note to yourself, but I'd like to have some time with you soon to discuss this in a bigger picture sense, because I know Tom Collmore, my vice chair, is just as concerned as I am about the range of issues that the JRIB is being asked to either vote on or weigh in on, things that I just don't think it's appropriate or we're equipped to do. And this would be a perfect example. So we're being presented with a retirement for the chief, right, Calmaris. There's really no issues about his service or how many years he worked or the quality of his work or whatever. But we are being presented with a calculation involving the buyback of previous military service. I think that's how you'd express it. That is unique to his contract because every other employee would have to make that decision pretty soon after they're hired. He was allowed to do it at the end of his service when he retired. And I did a quick back of the envelope calculation, assuming he lives a nice long life. And it works out on a present value to $4 or $5 million additional pension payments to the chief because of this feature. Literally $4 or $5 million. And we are fiduciaries of the pension trust. And by definition, that money is coming from the other employees or other retirees in the plan. So, and again, please, if somebody else chime in if I'm saying anything incorrect here. But as a board, or at least some of us on the board, are extremely uncomfortable being asked to approve this feature. In other words, if we were just told this is his pension, we would be finished with this call 20 minutes ago. But we're being asked to approve this feature that was added to his contract whenever it was negotiated. And I don't understand why we're being asked to do that.
We'll add in one more thing, if I may, Phil and Ken and others. There's a restriction, as Ken mentioned, that the optionality be exercised at the beginning of service or near the beginning of service. And what that gives me pause, because I wonder why that is if it doesn't matter, if it's just a mathematical calculation and nobody's affected negatively or positively, why is it restricted to the beginning of the contract? And maybe there's a good reason for that. I just, that isn't economic, but I don't know. It may be logistical, but I don't understand it. And that just puts a little amber light up, in my opinion, that maybe there's a significant reason for it being restricted to the beginning of the contract or service. I just don't know.
So obviously this is before you because it's in the contract. Is that, right? It says subject to pension board approval.
Yes, in this
Right. In other words,
section-
Phil. Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead, Megan.
Sorry, I was just sharing the page from the contract, section R for military buyback, that after the comma says and is subject to pension board approval. That's the reason why I brought the military buyback in front of the board today. I want to make sure I'm following the employment contract. The actuarial evaluation was done by Milliman and was included in the backup for the meeting. So I just wanted to see, Phil, what the language is.
Right. So, I see the contract language. From my perspective, he has a contractual right to the buyback. The amount owed is determined by the actuarial evaluation. The right to the buyback is not subject to the pension board's approval. I suppose if you had issue with the actuarial evaluation calculating the amount owed, that would be legitimate, but there's a contractual right to it. The amount owed it's agreed upon. The method for which it's determined is set forth. It's by actuarial evaluation. So I think from my perspective, the scope of the board's review would be limited to evaluating that actuarial evaluation and confirming whether it's accurate.
So Ken, that was the point I was trying to make, right? So as trustees, we're just checking on the math here. We're just making sure that we agree with the factors that the actuary is using, such as, making sure the salary value is correct, the factors correct. Here's a great point, right? So the employee is going to kick in, sorry for the background noise. The employee is kicking in $7,000. The total cost of the service, according to Milliman, is 24, which means the town's got to pony up 17,000 to the trust fund to make this whole.
Right.
So there's a second input of revenue that's got to come into the pension trust. So
again, I don't know what make it whole means, but leaving that aside. So Phil, I think that kind of answers it. You basically told us what we all wanted to hear.
Yeah, it is.
But Megan read something that is totally different. So I guess the real issue here is that we have to reword these contracts going forward, in my opinion, so that the pension board is not in the position of having to approve or disapprove of contracts between employees and the town of Fairfield, which I just don't think is our business, personally. I think our business is what Eric just described, which is to make sure the numbers are correct and approve it. But that's not what the contract says that Megan just read. The contract basically says we're approving this incredible bonus that the chief is being given the option to purchase.
I mean, the language that I'm looking at is what I described. I mean, it says the amount owed will be determined by an actuarial evaluation upon the chief's decision to retire and is subject to pension board approval. So
Yeah, so I guess the ambiguity, Phil, sorry to interrupt, but to me, the ambiguity is the amount owed. Is that is that mathematical or is that a sum?
Right. It's
I
kind of
think
like a well-regulated militia, right?
Well, that's even worse, but whatever.
No, I'm saying it's
Yeah,
ambiguous. It's hard
No,
to.
it's ambiguous. I think it's ambiguous. And we're not lawyers, and that's why we're
Okay.
asking for help here. But Ken, I'll speak for myself again on this one. I'm satisfied by what Phil is saying.
Yeah, no, I am as well. Calvin, can you make sure that the minutes explicitly
Yes.
are recognizing that we had the town's attorney on the call?
Yep.
And well, you write it up the way you think, and I'll look at it and we'll polish it up. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, I'll volunteer
Okay.
as well. I'd like to see the minutes, and normally I just sort of read them quickly and agree perfunctorily, but I would really like to see how this, even if it's only a sentence or two, how this is expressed.
Minutes will be sent to
Yeah,
all board
minute-
members after the meeting.
Yeah,
Good
it'll
luck, Cal.
be more
Good
than
luck,
one, it'll be more than one sentence. I think this is a paragraph at least. Okay. Listen, I appreciate anybody on the call who had to stick with this because I think we do have a job to do. I'm proud to be part of a board where we try to take our responsibilities seriously. And if that means being a little bit overly cautious, I for one, think that's the right thing to do. Let's see. So we already had a second on this motion a while ago. So is there any other comments from the rest of the board on the call? Okay.
I
Is it
just
appropriate
on record-
for me?
I just want to go on record real fast, just to thank the chief for his 25 years of service. He's
Absolutely.
he's done a job for the town of Fairfield, and he's really raised the department and the standard of the department to a very high level that's nationally recognized. So
And if I could, I'd like to
Terrific.
inject a comment as well that absolutely none of this reflects any shade on the chief's personally. This is strictly a consideration of our fiduciary scope, and that's all.
Absolutely. And Calvin, if you could also reflect that the chair and the vice chair made that comment about
Will
the
do.
chief. Okay, terrific. So I think we've cleared all that up. I'm going to ask for a vote. All in favor of approving the pension of Chief Calamaris as it's presented to us on the calculation dated July 3rd, 2025. Aye. Any other
Ken, I'm
votes?
so sorry.
Against?
This is
Yeah.
Megan.
You have to do two.
There was an update. The one that was sent on the 3rd, I did not realize that the chief had a salary increase on 7/1. So there is a revised calculation that was sent out yesterday with a different dollar amount.
That's the
Okay,
one
could I
currently
just-
uploaded to the event, if you're looking.
It's in the backup.
It's in the back. Yeah.
That's what the.
Backup
public
sent
said.
yesterday should have the correct number.
Let's see. Oh, yesterday. Hang on. Let me, now that you brought it up, I'd like to at least see it. You know, when
It's
that
what I
was,
forwarded you today, Ken.
no, what you forwarded me is I just clicked on
Correct.
the one I was reading. I'm
Hold
pretty
on.
sure. Yeah, that's what you just sent me today. Let me look at the one that looks like it was from There's one from Tom Collimore. I don't know if that's the one. Hang on.
All right, hold on.
No, it's not it. No.
That would be much to my surprise.
I can resend it
Yeah,
if you
good.
need, Ken.
I'm only, actually, is this it here? Gate prepared, July 10, 2025?
That's the one.
That's one.
Got it. So the monthly retirement benefit is 12,490.53?
I'm just opening it up. Yes.
Correct.
Okay, terrific. I appreciate it. Okay, back to the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any against
Aye.
or abstention? Okay, it was approved unanimously. So terrific, and please pass on our congratulations and good luck to the chief. And let's see here quickly where the agenda is.
So
Okay.
you approve the early retirement, now you need to go down and approve the purchasing of military time.
Okay, fair enough. Thank you. What would we do without you, Calvin? We'd be lost. So do I have a motion to accept the approval of the purchase of the 3.5 years of military time for the chief?
Eric Calver, I'll make the motion to approve the purchasing of military time for Robert Calamars, 3.5 years.
Oh, Tom Collins,
Anybody
I'll
want a
second.
So,
Tom
Okay,
Collins,
we have
I'll second.
okay, so Eric is the first and Tom Collmore is the second. Anybody on the call have any commentary beyond what we've just gone through? Okay, I'll call for a vote. All in favor of approving the military time purchase for the chief? Aye.
aye.
Aye. All against or abstaining? None? Okay, that's also approved unanimously. So I think we could just hang out and chit chat, but I'm going to suggest we make a motion to adjourn.
I move that we
Eric Calver,
adjourn.
make a motion to adjourn. Tom, I'll let Tom make the first and I'll
Oh,
second
you're
it.
the best, Eric. You're the best.
Okay, so
I don't
Tom
care what
first,
everybody
Eric
says about me.
second. Yeah, I know, Eric's got a bad rep. That doesn't go in the minutes. All in favor of adjourning? Aye?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, okay. That I can say is unanimous. Phil, thanks so much for hopping on.
Thank you, Phil.
Thank you,
Have
Phil.
a great weekend, everybody. Thanks, Phil.
See ya.
That's
Take care. Take care. All. Be cool.
Okay, take care, everybody.
Thank you.